hope you're getting done with a really nice summer, getting ready for autumn. We're getting done with winter, getting ready for spring, finally. I'm here with Hot Sauce and Nacho, and you might see Crusher walk on by to talk to you about something that we do in commitment training that we haven't really talked about much, but it's so useful. And that is how we use our eyes. So you've all been told, connect, blah, 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 blah. But there are ways that we can use our connection in our eyes to really help the dogs commit. The goal being that it doesn't matter in the future, that you've trained things well enough that a basic flail or a basic cue will get you your commitment, and verbal cues as well. But in the early stages and as best we can throughout the dog's career, we use our eyes very specifically to help the dog. So that's what I'm going to kind of walk you through on this video, and let me know if you have any questions. Now, one of the ways that we use our eyes on any of it is to turn our upper body to where we want the dog to go. And where we want the dog to go is not dictated by our hands, it's really dictated by where our chest and our shoulders are pointing. Every dog, every handling system, that's really what they read. So if we can use our eyes, we're golden. Now, some of you guys are working on getting more commitment from your dogs, and that is where you can turn and transfer your gaze from the dog's eyes to where you want them to go. Yay, good girlie! See, she offers that wing. When I just kind of go from looking at her to looking out at the wing, doesn't matter to her that I'm already quite rotated. She's like, oh yeah, I see that transition. It's a very subtle change of line of the upper body, and I don't have to fling and flail, and you can build a lot of distance into it. So now with some of your dogs, you're trying to get more collection. Their commitment is great, but they just want to go big all the time. So we change where we look to help that, especially early in training and maybe forever. So if I'm coming up to like a rat jump or something, I'm not necessarily going to just gently look at the dog. I'm not necessarily going to look at where I want them to go because they're going to jump out to a different planet. I'm going to look at the dog. Hello. Very directly at their eyes to say to them, I need you to sit back. And that really gives a massive rotation to our chest, which will often, you can see her going, whoop, which will sit the dog back into their hind end. So as the dog is approaching and you're rotating, doing a front cross or wrap or whatever, and you need a real collection, rather than saying swoosh, go there, you're gonna say to the dog, I need you to collect. Oh, good girlie. And you can see how that turns, it turns my chest so that the dog says, whoa, okay, I'm gonna sit back into that. You know, some people call it the evil eye, whatever you need to call it, perfectly fine with me, but you're gonna look hard at the dog. It's almost like saying to the dog, you, I'm talking to you, just like my New York roots. So here's what that looks like with a very pushy young man out on a bigger jumping course when I turn and look at him to get that collection. Now, using that hard eye contact can also keep the dog coming in on a serpentine rather than going by it. So as I'm running, serping the dog in, if I gently look at the dog, some dogs are like, screw it, I'm just gonna run by. I don't know if you've ever run into that. But if you say to the dog, hey, you need to take this jump, big direct eye contact, they're more likely to come in and make a nice turn for you. And the flip side is, some dogs that need encouragement to jump into you, you don't want to look at them that hard. You can transfer your gaze from the dog, watching where they are, to your serp hand. It's almost like looking at the hand for a hand target. Hello. So I went and I looked at it, and here comes the puppy saying, hey, I think I'll touch it. So I'm tugging, and if I transfer my gaze, yeah, good girlie. She's like, oh, it's something with the hand. So the dogs that need a little more encouragement to come into you actually come in quite nicely on that. Now, speaking of coming in, transferring your gaze to a throttle hand, whichever hand you use, across the body, same side hand. When the dog is seeing you run and they see you open up and look down at the hand, or run, look down at the hand, they're gonna wanna come into that hand. Same thing for the fancy pants little rear crossing moves that we use that are very hand-based, such as this. Good girlie. When I present the come to me hand, then I need the dog to drive into it, so I shift my gaze. I've found that, here, Hot Sauce, can you sit? If I continue to look at the dog, they don't really drive in, but when I look down at the hand, oh, good girlie. See how she's like, I think I'll go over to that. Now what that becomes is you can draw the dog through these rear crossing maneuvers. Hot Sauce has volunteered to demo. Hi. Break. Whee. And turn them away, good girlie, by just letting your eyes follow your hand. If your body is doing all the dance moves, but you're just staring at the dog is less likely to come into you. So this is a baby puppy, 7 months old, that just was like, okay, I'll do a fancy pants move. And that fancy pants maneuvering with the hand and the eye can go for any of these, whether it is, can I have the toy? Whether it is when we turn them away like this, yay! You could just follow your hand with your eyes, or when you do the complete 360 at your side. May I have that? Why, thank you. Come here. So I'm watching my hand. There you go. She's like, that's weird. Yay, get it! Yay! So it's just getting her to see that I'm following the hand with the eyes, and all of these maneuvers are simple because she really hasn't done any of these yet, my little baby puppy, my little delicate flower. So I'm gonna now go out to the field. I'm trying to avoid getting frozen, and show you what it looks like with the adult dogs on bigger jumps and bigger variations on it. And you'll really see how where you look can have a tremendous effect on what the dog does, how they commit, and how they turn. Did you notice, by the way, that in typical Papillon fashion, this Papillon, oh, hello, and this Papillon both disappeared while work had to be done and left it to the little monkey over here. This one was lying on the piano bench, and this one was on the couch in front of the TV. Oh, Papillons, naughty and naughty, but very cute. So here's an example of how you can use shifting of your connection to help the dog either commit or collect. So if I bring the dog in this way, and I need to help him commit, I'm gonna turn my eyes to there. So I'm connected, I'm looking at his eyes, and then I look to the landing spot to send him behind me. Same thing if I'm gonna send him into the wrap. I'm connected, and as he passes me, I look to his eyes, and then look behind me. Now, if I need the dog to collect more, and I'll show you one of each, I am going to, instead of looking that direction, I'm going to maintain my gaze on his eyes. You need to collect, and then give him permission to jump when I see collection by shifting that gaze. Same thing on this wrap line. I'm going to say to the dog, all right, I'm looking at you. Oh, you've collected? That's really nice. You may take that jump. So it's very different, and every dog is different. You want to choose what's right for your dog. Here's what it looks like in the different forms. This is Voodoo. He's a very powerful jumper, so I use the strong I'm looking at you connection in order to convince him to collect. So the first two are exaggerations, so you can see just how much he goes, got it, I'm gonna collect. And then the next two are really what I would do on course to produce a really nice turn. Break. Break. Yay! Break. Break. Yay! All right, next up is Nacho. He does not need as much help to collect. He needs a little more help to commit. It's just who he is, different personalities. So with him, as I'm going this way, I'm gonna shift my gaze back to help support commitment, or on this, shift my connection back to help support commitment. Here's what it looks like. Come on, Notch. Break. Good boy. Whee! Break. Yay, good boy. Now I'm deliberately doing all of these without verbal cues because I just want you to get a look at the connection. Of course, I would totally use verbal cues on all of this, and the end goal is that you can just do whatever with connection, not even look at the dog. And that is something that I'm working on with all of my dogs. Now you can also use this on serpentines to transfer your connection from the dog's eyes down to your hand. So if you just need the dog to come in on a serpentine, just look at your hand if they need a little extra help coming in. If they might run by and you need their attention and they need to really collect, you can look at them. Now the same goes if you're trying around the wing and you need a bigger collection. You can, across the bar, look hard at the dog and say, you, my friend, need to collect really strongly. So on a regular serpentine with Nacho, I need to encourage him to come in with confidence towards me. So as he's coming in, I just look down at my hand. That really helps support him coming in. Here's what that looks like. Come here, Good boy. Yay. Break. So let's take a look at use of shifting connection in our wrappy stuff, whether it's a front side wrap or a back side wrap. So on the front side wrap, dog is coming in, we rotate. For the dogs that need a little extra help to commit while we rotate away, we worked on this when I was there in January, where we go boop, step back. Those dogs, as they pass us, you're connected to their eyes, so you rotate and they pass. Shift your connection back to where you want them to go, towards their landing spot. You can still see them, they still see you, but they will commit a little bit better instead of stopping short. Now the opposite goes for certain dogs where they don't want to collect. They're like, woohoo, let's go. So with those dogs, as I rotate, I shift my connection from a normal, I'm looking at you connection to the I'm really looking at you connection. Where the dog goes, got it, I'm gonna jump really tight to this jump. So here's what the difference looks like with the two dogs. Good. Boy. Now the first one was a little exaggerated, but the second one is pretty much what I would do at a competition to help him understand, hey, I need you to collect. Now here's what it looks like when I shift my connection to help the dog go to the landing spot and not collect as much. Good boy. Break. Good boy. Now the same thing works on those backside wraps, those circular 360s, reverse wraps, whatever you want to call them move, whereas the dog is going to the backside, you're going to be looking at the dog, back, 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 a hard connection, really turns your chest, and as they're passing you, you're then going to shift your connection to the landing spot. Now most dogs, as they're learning this, need us to shift our connection so that they can wrap while we continue to move forward. What you don't want to do is you don't want to put your eyeballs here and leave it here, because the dog needs to be here. So as you're going forward, so the dog passes you, just follow their eyes around and just shift your connection to there as you go forward to create that picture of dog goes that way, you go that way. So here's what that looks like. Yay! So good. Now for some dogs on these backside wraps that don't set themselves up well, or they'll slice and then try and make the wrap, we can use that I'm looking at your eyes connection to get the collection for the takeoff. The difference is we look at them here as they're going to the backside, not when they're here. If we look at them when we're here, it means we're here, and that's a problem. But if we look at them here as they're passing us to kind of say, hey, you need to break your stride, you'll get a great collection. This is what it looks like when we look at them really early to get that collection. Come here, Yay! Woo! So you can see he was like, got it, more collection needed. And then as I saw him pass me and start to collect, I shifted to the landing spot so I could just leave. Now eventually, you can even fade out that shifting to the landing spot so you get your collection and carry on forward. Now my goal is that I can just cue the dog to go to the backside and leave. I don't have to do any connection. So at the beginning, we use all this connection shifting around, but then you fade it out. It's not as hard as it sounds. It's actually pretty straightforward, and you'll get to that feeling of super connection with the dog the whole time.